Very interesting show here on Dolphins Today. I am Nic Rohloff. We are going to talk about Quinn Ewers. Could the Miami Dolphins look to draft the Texas Longhorn quarterback in the NFL draft in this upcoming late April? Well, the reason we are talking about that on today's show is because actually earlier this morning, he declared for the 2025 NFL draft. He was a highly touted recruit out of high school, went to Ohio State, transferred to Texas, has been there pretty much as their starter for the last 3 seasons, and he's 21-5. We've seen him go very deep into the college football playoffs. But when you really think about Ewers as a prospect, it's not as pretty as the kind of backstory to his college and high school career is, which is what we'll get to. And I do think he could possibly be a late day 2, early day 3 draft target for Miami. The Dolphins are projected to have 10 picks in this upcoming draft, and I do strongly believe they should use one of them on a quarterback, but maybe late 3rd, 4th, or in the 5th round as opposed to a 1st or 2nd round pick, and maybe Ewers is that guy. But what say you, before we get a full breakdown of the quarterback from Texas, would you want to draft Quinn Ewers, type D for draft or type P for pass? Let me know your thoughts before we get fully into today's show. Well, the reason why I was sparked with this video idea is because right after the announcement was made by Pete Thamel that he is going to the draft, Brett Coleman, who does an excellent job covering the NFL as an analyst, says that there is not a more Mike McDaniel-ish quarterback in this draft than Quinn Ewers. It would make sense for them as a backup for Tua in case he gets hurt again. And then most of you may know Kyle Krabs, who covers the Miami Dolphins, but also does a lot of great stuff for the 33rd team, said he considered comping Quinn to Skylar Thompson, so I sadly get it. Little funny back and forth there between Kyle and Brett Coleman. Obviously, we know Thompson has been the backup in Miami since 2022. No longer signed a futures deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this sparked my interest on potentially talking about Ewers' fit in Miami and if the Dolphins should think about drafting him. And I'll say this right now. I am not a Quinn Ewers guy. I thought he has stunk. I was not high on him last year when some people said if he came into the draft, he could be taken in the 2nd, 3rd round potentially. It was a smart move for him to go back to college after 2023 to try to sharpen up his mechanics and put better tape out there because there was a realistic outcome where he was the number 1 pick in this draft if he improved from 23 to 24. The issue with that statement I just made is that he did not improve from last season to this season. I mean, you see the numbers on screen. He actually played 2 more games in 2024 than he did in 2023, and his numbers stayed the same and actually dipped a little bit. Sure, his touchdown numbers went up, but yards are the same. The completion percentage dipped by quite a big margin. The yards per attempt, the interceptions rose by 6. Like I said earlier, if he went back to school and improved, put better tape out there, and looked like a more NFL-ready, accurate quarterback, there was a realistic chance he was going to be a top 5, top 10 pick this year. And especially with how weak this quarterback draft class is, he really could have been that QB1 up there with Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. But he did not take a step up. He, in my opinion, actually flatlined. And when you flatline as an NFL draft prospect, that raises the red alarms. The sirens are going off. Like, why didn't he improve? And sure, he lost some big-time weapons, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell from a year ago, but it's not like they didn't have any good players over there. They still got good wide receivers like Matthew Golden, who might be, by the way, one of the top 3 wide receivers picked in this NFL draft. There is a lot of reasons to me why he did not take that step up. And as we get into my little Quinn Ewers scouting profile here, I have not dove into the tape deeply here, but this is just macro, first glance type of stuff. If more rumors link him to Miami, we'll go in more depth about Ewers and his tape. But right away, a couple of the positives, in my opinion, on Quinn Ewers. He excels in an RPO scheme, and he gets the ball out of his hands quickly. We'll talk about the offense that Texas ran with Steve Sarkisian in a little bit, but he does a really good job of making those decisions, whether it's a quick handoff, quick little bubble screen, a flat, slant over the middle. And his arm talent is very real. He has a great live arm. You can just tell by the way sometimes he steps up in the pocket pocket or off his back foot can flick a ball 50 yards downfield, and how he can drive the ball on a frozen rope over the middle of the field. So there are some things to really like about Quinn Ewers, but to me, there's more negatives than positives at this point. He has very sloppy footwork, and it leads to a lot of inaccurate throws, and he has horrible pocket awareness. I mean, if you watch the game against Ohio State, when he wasn't getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and he was sitting back there in straight dropbacks trying to read the defense, know where to go with the football, he would hold on to it too long. The internal clock for Ewers just isn't there at the moment, and it would lead to him getting sacked. And I'm not going to blame him for that strip sack at the end of the game because it was kind of a do or die play, have to make something happen, but you got to know to give yourself a chance by getting rid of the football. Plus, durability is a concern, and I don't love potentially having a developmental backup quarterback who is injury prone. We saw him get injured countless times over his 3-year career as a Texas Longhorn. And we'll have more on Ewers coming up in just a second, but it is 2025, and if your New Year's resolution is to make sure you are smelling nice and fresh, Mando is the best way to get that done. It's a whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body, created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products to your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, plus it has free shipping. I have a couple products in studio with me today, one of them being the deodorant wipes, which is so helpful on the go when I'm playing basketball, going out golfing with the friends. If I got to run errands afterwards, it makes me smell nice and fresh after doing those activities. Perfect for travel. And my favorite scent, by the way, in the stick deodorant, Mount Fuji. I think it smells terrific. It's the one I use on a daily basis. So join me with Mando and make sure you aren't the smelliest person in the room. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code, CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. All right, we looked a little bit at the scouting profile at a first glance on Quinn Ewers. Well, how about a player comp? And I am not going to comp him yet. I don't feel comfortable doing that in terms of my evaluation and scouting. But I want to go back to Kyle Krabs, who has done extensive scouting and film watching on Ewers to this point, has a 5th-round grade on him, and compared him as a player to Will Grier. And then you also saw that tweet earlier about a little Skylar Thompson action. So this is not someone that is going to, at least according to the scouts in my eyes and other people's, right now come in and be a game changer for Miami, but is an option on day 3. But there is a reason specifically, in my opinion, why he is linked to the Miami Dolphins as a potential quarterback draft prospect. When you watch the film and you do look at that Texas offense that Steve Sarkisian run, it is an NFL-styled offense, and it uses a lot of motion. They get the ball out of there quick. Does that remind you of any other offense in the NFL? A lot of motion, quick passing game, RPOs. Oh, yeah, the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. It's not a carbon copy by any stretch of the imagination, but Ewers is used to that quick little RPO, slants over the middle, the bubble screens, the quick screen game. So it does make a little bit of sense to me why he would be linked to Miami, because Sark and McDaniel run a similar styled offense for their respective college teams and professional teams. We're going to round out the show here in just a second, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we have Miami Dolphins coverage every single day. We have 67,050 subscribers. Let's get 50 subscribers on this video and get to 67,100. Would appreciate that quite a bit. We're dropping 2 videos a day, so make sure you are subscribed. All right, before we close out the show here, I do want to say this. I am staying away from Quinn Ewers. I really am, and there's a lot of reasons. I mentioned the footwork, the durability concerns, the poor decision-making at times. And he is really, really bad when pressured. He is. He is one of the worst quarterbacks that I've seen from college when he has pressure in his grill. And you see the numbers on screen right now. The difference between when he is kept clean in the pocket to when he is under pressure, it's unbelievable. It's hard to even fathom. And you could say this for every quarterback. Every quarterback is going to take a step down in terms of their decision making, in terms of their accuracy, when they have guys in their face. There's no debating that. But it's so startling in terms of how big of a drop off it is that we got to talk about it. The completion percentage drops by nearly 20%. The adjusted completion percentage, by the way, not as severe, only 5%, but the turnover-worthy play percentage jumps up a full 2% as well. So when he gets pressure, he gets frazzled a little bit, isn't as crisp and accurate with the football as when he's kept clean, and he puts the ball in harm's way, and that is something that turns me off quite a bit in a collegiate quarterback. And when you think about this as well, and this has nothing to do with pressure, but there is a possibility that those numbers and stats that we showed earlier in the show is a little bit inflated because he might be a screen merchant. Also, you could say the same thing for Tua at times. But this past season, Quinn Ewers had 525 yards via screenplays. That is the 12th highest amount of yards in the college football last season. So they got the ball out of his hands quick. They allowed the playmakers to do what they do best after the catch. I think you could say the same thing for last year with Adonai Mitchell, with Xavier Worthy, when he had Bijan Robinson there a couple of years ago. Like, to me, I don't think the prototypical NFL quarterback that people thought Quinn Ewers could be is really in that guy right now we're seeing come out of Texas, which is why I'm kind of staying away. Final word. Do you think Miami is a good fit for Ewers? This is not if the Dolphins should draft Quinn Ewers. This is not the question. Do you think Miami is a good fit for him? Type Y for yes or type N for no. All right, truly rounding out today's show, I do think Miami will ultimately be interested. We talked a lot about why there would be mutual interest here. Similar offensive styles, schemes. And we're talking about a developmental quarterback. I've said very much early on in this offseason, the Dolphins need to sign a veteran backup quarterback to be that backup right away. Whether it's Andy Dalton, whether it's a Carson Wentz, a Jameis Winston, a Drew Lock, someone that you could trust to go in there and play right away, but also draft someone on day 3 of the draft potentially. And we will talk probably a lot about these 10 guys coming up in the next 2 or 3 months. Ewers is on the list, but guys like Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, Kyle McCord from Syracuse, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, those guys to me are probably much better fits and much better players than Quinn Ewers is for the NFL, which is why I would maybe try to go look at one of those guys more than Quinn Ewers. And I do want to finally end the show here. Roley's final word. It would not shock me if he is ultimately picked by the Miami Dolphins. If we're talking early May and Quinn Ewers is putting on a Dolphins jersey, I would not be surprised one bit. For all the reasons we laid out about scheme fit and the developmental part of it, that is something that I could see Mike McDaniel being very intrigued by. But I would not take Quinn Ewers before round 5. The Dolphins have a lot of draft picks, but also a lot of needs and holes to fill on this roster. And yes, we'll have a clearer picture going into the draft after the free agency period and the trade market heats up in March and early April. But as of right now, I would not take him before round 5. The Dolphins have 3 7th-round picks, a couple 5th-rounders. Maybe that's where I would start to contemplate maybe selecting the Texas quarterback. But rounds 1, 2, 3, maybe you could talk me into 4, but certainly days 1 and 2, I'm staying away from Quinn. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are putting out multiple videos on a daily basis. So hit that sub button. If any news drops are on Miami, we'll have you covered. And when rumors populate like this one on Quinn Ewers today, we'll talk about it. Tomorrow we have another draft video coming out. So make sure you subscribe and lock us in here for the best Dolphins coverage all offseason long.